Once upon a time, there lived a man called Mr. Lawson. Mr. Lawson is a self-made billionaire who started from the scratch and built of his wealth. He has numerous of estates he's handling and also has shares in them, properties in different cities, and big mansion he lives in with his 3 children, Ava, Liam, and Jason. Their mother, Mrs. Helen Lawson, died after the birth of her last son, Jason, from the pregnancy weight. Mr. Lawson was left to take care of his 3 children all alone by himself. Anything money can buy, his children he spoilt them with money and a lot of gifts, and for that, his children knew nothing about the life of a poor person or struggle due to they had it easily. They go partying and drives different cars and sport cars. They live reckless lives. And because of that, Mr. Lawson was afraid of what his children are becoming. One day, the grand chandelier above the dining table sparkled as sunlight streamed through the massive windows of the Lawson estate. The long, mahogany table was adorned with an extravagant breakfast spread, freshly baked croissants, exotic fruits, golden pancakes dripping with syrup, and imported coffee brewed to perfection. Yet the sight of such abundance did little to inspire gratitude in the 3 Lawson children. Ava, his 21-year-old daughter and the eldest, sighed dramatically as she scrolled through her phone. "Dad, the new limited edition designer bag just dropped, and I need it. It's only $5,000, so it's really not a big deal." She barely looked up as she sipped freshly squeezed orange juice from a crystal glass. Liam, his 20-year-old son and Ava's younger brother, leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "5,000? That's nothing. Dad, I was thinking, it's time for an upgrade. The new Hypermax sports car just launched, and it's way better than my current one. I'd like it by the weekend." His voice carried the entitlement of someone who had never known denial. Jason, the youngest at 16, wrinkled his nose at the food in front of him. "Ugh, why do we keep eating the same boring stuff? Where's the gourmet French chef? I told you I wanted truffle-infused eggs today, not this basic breakfast." He pushed his plate away, pouting. Across the table, Mr. Lawson silently observed them. Dressed in a crisp suit, he stirred his coffee slowly, his expression unreadable. He had built his billion-dollar empire from nothing, yet his children had never known struggle. They had no idea what it meant to work, to earn, or to appreciate the value of money. Later that afternoon, the 3 siblings stormed into an exclusive boutique, their demands overwhelming the staff. "I don't care about the price," Ava snapped at a sales assistant. "I said I want it now." Liam rolled his eyes. "Do you guys not understand VIP treatment? Call your manager." Jason laughed cruelly as an employee struggled to carry their bags. "You look like you could use a gym membership," he sneered. A passing worker muttered, "They wouldn't survive a day in the real world." Mr. Lawson heard it, and the words struck him deeply as he had an idea that will set the record straight. The Lawson mansion was unusually quiet as Mr. Lawson called for a family meeting in the grand living room. His children arrived one by one, each absorbed in their own world, Ava texting, Liam checking car updates, and Jason wearing noise-canceling headphones. None of them sensed the storm about to hit. Mr. Lawson took a deep breath before speaking. "I have some difficult news," he said, his tone serious. "Our company has suffered a major financial crash due to our lost market. We've lost everything." Ava's fingers froze over her phone. "What do you mean, everything?" she asked, her voice laced with disbelief. Liam scoffed. "Dad, you're joking, right? We're billionaires." Jason pulled off his headphones, looking annoyed. "Wait, does this mean we can't order gourmet meals anymore?" Mr. Lawson sighed. "It means we have nothing left. We are broke. The mansion, the cars, the private jet, they're all being sold to cover our debts. I owe the bank from the money I borrowed from them for my business, and now they will be coming to take the mansion and the coffers. I was voted out from the shareholders' meeting in the estate. We're moving to a much smaller place immediately." Panic set in. Ava clutched her designer purse like it was the last treasure on earth. "Dad, no! I can't live without my things." "This is insane!" Liam shouted. "Why didn't you tell us before? Can't you just fix it?" Jason looked on the verge of tears. "I refuse to live like a poor person." Mr. Lawson's face remained firm. "This is happening, and even if I told you, what would you have done? So we leave tomorrow and don't make this worse than it has already been." The next day, the Lawson family stood in front of their new home, a cramped two-bedroom apartment in a rundown neighborhood. The building was old, with peeling paint and flickering lights in the hallway. Ava gasped in horror. "You expect me to live here?" Liam crossed his arms. "I'm not stepping foot in that place." Jason, dragging a small suitcase, muttered, "This has to be a prank." Inside, the reality hit even harder. The apartment was nothing like their luxurious mansion. There was no personal chef, no staff, no marble floors, just basic furniture and a tiny kitchen. "Where's my room?" Jason demanded. Mr. Lawson pointed to a shared bedroom with two small beds. "You're sharing with Liam." Jason's face turned red. "This is child abuse." Ava flopped onto a worn-out couch. "I hate this. I hate all of this." Mr. Lawson simply watched, waiting for reality to sink in. By the end of the week, the Lawson children were in for another shock. Their father handed them each a slip of paper with job assignments. "You'll be working to help cover rent and food," Mr. Lawson announced. Ava scoffed. "Excuse me? Work?" "Yes," Mr. Lawson said firmly. "Ava, you'll be a waitress at a diner. Liam, you'll wash cars at a local service station. Jason, you'll work at a fast food restaurant after you all are done with high school." "This is ridiculously insane," Liam protested. "You can't be serious." Jason whined. "I don't even eat fast food. How can I work there?" "You wanted gourmet meals? Now you'll see how hard people work to make them. And I am sorry it has to be this way. Not everything lasts in this way." The next day, reality set in. Ava struggled with trays at the diner, spilling coffee on a rude customer who berated her. She clenched her teeth, resisting the urge to lash out. Liam, humiliated, scrubbed car tires while sweating in the sun. His worst moment came when a former rich friend pulled up in a luxury car. "Liam, what are you doing here?" The embarrassment was unbearable. Jason, meanwhile, fumbled at the register, pressing the wrong buttons. "Move faster," a customer snapped. He had never felt so overwhelmed in his life. Their first payday arrived, but the excitement didn't last as they squandered it in roll. Jason rushed to buy snacks, only to stare at his empty wallet afterward. "That's it," he gasped. "I worked all those hours and I can't even afford good food." Ava massaged her sore feet, groaning. "I stood all day for this little money?" Liam sat in silence, staring at his paycheck. He glanced at his boss, a single father working 2 jobs. The man had dark circles under his eyes, yet he kept going. For the first time, Liam felt something new: respect. That night, at their tiny apartment, they sat in silence. No fancy meals, no extravagant plans, just exhaustion. Jason looked up, his voice quieter than ever. "Dad, how did you do this alone for so long to be such a billionaire then?" Mr. Lawson smiled knowingly. "Now you understand that it's never easy." Ava stood at the diner counter, staring at the familiar face of a waitress she had once insulted. The memory stung, how she had snapped her fingers and demanded faster service. Now she was on the other side, exhausted and barely keeping up. Swallowing her pride, she approached the woman. I just wanted to say I'm sorry for how I treated you before," Ava murmured. "I didn't understand how hard this job was." The waitress blinked in surprise before offering a small smile. "It takes a lot to admit that," she said. "You're learning." Meanwhile, Liam sat on a crowded bus after his shift. A frail elderly woman entered, struggling to find a seat. Normally, Liam wouldn't have noticed, but something had changed. Without hesitation, he stood up. "Ma'am, you can take my seat." The woman smiled warmly. "Thank you, young man." Jason, too, was changing. When a coworker couldn't afford lunch, Jason surprised himself by handing over a few money. "Here," he said. "Get something to eat." His coworker's eyes widened. "Seriously, thanks, man. I wasn't expecting that." For the first time, the Lawson kids were thinking beyond themselves, but it took them time, over a year, to understand. That evening, the 3 siblings sat together in their tiny apartment, eating simple rice and vegetables. There were no personal chefs, no luxury, but for once, they weren't complaining. Jason poked at his food. "You know, I never thought about how much effort goes into everything we used to take for granted." Ava nodded. "I used to think people who worked these jobs were just beneath us. But now I understand that they work harder than we ever have, even though we had it all." Liam sighed. "I saw my boss today. He's got 2 jobs, a family to feed, and barely any time for himself. And I used to waste thousands on parties without a second thought, and I felt for him, because that shows he is a man." For the first time, they truly understood the struggles of the real world. Mr. Lawson watched them with quiet pride. The lesson was sinking in, and he liked what his children are becoming. And because of that, he found that it is time to let the cat out of the cage. A week later, Mr. Lawson gathered his children in the small living room. The once spoiled siblings sat before him, not with entitlement but with a quiet humility he had never seen before. "It's time I tell you something," Mr. Lawson began, his voice steady. "This entire experience was a test. I never lost my fortune. The company never went bankrupt, and as a matter of fact, the estate is secured." Silence. Ava blinked. "What?" Liam frowned. "Wait, what do you mean?" Mr. Lawson leaned forward. "I faked everything. I wanted you to understand the value of hard work, money, and respect. I wanted you to see how the real world works. I wanted you all to see the value in other, instead of devaluing everyone and everything you see. Because one, you will need their help one way or the other. I didn't just become a billionaire in a day. I was helped by a beggars just to reach where I am today." Jason's jaw dropped. "So we suffered for nothing?" Mr. Lawson shook his head. "No, you didn't suffer, you learned. Look at yourselves. You've changed. You've grown into people that actually have a heart for people who are not in your shoes." Ava covered her mouth, her mind racing. The long shifts, the exhaustion, the struggles. It had all been a lesson? Liam clenched his fists. "You tricked us?" "Yes, I had to," Mr. Lawson admitted. "Because I love you. Because I wanted you to become better people. Instead, all the extravagant lives you all had lived, and I want the best for my children. That's all a father would ask. And one day, you all would grow to have a family of your own with children, and you will see." Instead of celebrating, the Lawson children sat in stunned silence. Months ago, they would have jumped at the chance to return to their luxurious lives. But now it felt different. Ava finally spoke. "Dad, we don't want to go back to that old life." Mr. Lawson raised an eyebrow. "Oh," Liam exhaled. "I don't want to waste my life being handed everything. I want to start my own business, earn something for myself." Jason nodded slowly. "I used to think money solved everything. But I want to help people, maybe donate some of my earnings to charity." Mr. Lawson's heart swelled with pride. His children had not only learned the lesson, but had chosen to embrace it. Ava smiled, a real, genuine smile. "We thought we had lost everything, but in reality, we gained something much more important." Mr. Lawson's eyes glistened. "That," he said, "is true wealth." A week had passed since Mr. Lawson's big revelation. The children had every opportunity to return to their old lives, private jets, designer clothes, personal chefs, but something inside them had changed. Ava sat on her bed, scrolling through her old social media posts. Selfies in expensive outfits, captions flaunting wealth, posts mocking those with less. She cringed. "Was I really like this?" she whispered. Liam stood outside the apartment, watching the sunrise. He thought about the long days washing cars, the single father who never stopped working. He had spent his life chasing luxury, but for what? He wanted purpose. Jason, the youngest, had been silent for most of the week. One evening, he finally spoke. "Dad, can we do something?" Mr. Lawson turned. "What is it, son?" Jason hesitated, then said, "I want to go back to the fast food place, not to work, but to buy meals for the people struggling there." Ava and Liam exchanged glances, nodding. "Yeah," Ava added, "and I want to donate some of my designer bags. They don't mean anything to me anymore." Mr. Lawson's heart swelled with pride. That weekend, the family visited a homeless shelter. No cameras, no publicity, just genuine kindness. Ava sat with a woman and helped her organize donated clothes. "This looks nice," Ava said, holding up a warm sweater. Liam helped in the kitchen, serving meals. He smiled as he handed a plate to an elderly man. "Enjoy your meal, sir." Jason sat with a little boy, sharing a meal. "What's your dream?" he asked. The boy grinned. "To be rich one day." Jason chuckled. "Just remember, real wealth isn't about money, it's about what's in here." He tapped his heart. Mr. Lawson watched his children, his heart full. They had learned the greatest lesson of all. Wealth is not what you have, but who you become. Dear viewers, what do you think about this story? I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and share it with friends. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks, and see you in the next video. Bye.